Luchason, Luch space SON, because we jacked up the spelling of his name. No one bothered to ask me, but I didn't give it. I don't care. But this is for him. I'm going to see which one of you donkeys gets this first.
Okay.
All the women want to be with me, and all the men want to be like me. Anybody? Anybody?
All the women want to be with me.
I'm every woman's dream and every man's nightmare. Anyone?
Ali?
No.
Who?
Wrestling.
Yeah, it sounds like something a wrestler would say.
Space Mountain may be the oldest ride in the park, but it has the longest line. Woo!
Little Ric
Flair.
Yes.
Wow.
That's about
all you have to
Who
say.
doesn't love that guy? Is he still wrestling at 72?
Yes. And
Yes.
that, seriously,
He's 74.
Leather skin? Oh, leather back.
he's actually the crocodile.
George actually looked scared. This is how tired this nigga is. I turned on the chainsaw. George was like...
Anyway, you've been tweeting and you've been emailing about pro wrestling. That's about all the pro wrestling you'll ever see us cover.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we're just not going to do it. Not with the NFL back and the great MMA card we had tonight.
Yeah.
Holy horseshit, Batman.
Which brings us to Strike Force.
Shitty 3.
We had high hopes.
Fedor versus Hendo.
Yeah, it was like Jimmy just said, and I'm stealing this one from him. It was just bad matchup night.
It really was. And it started off with Scott Smith versus...
Who, if you had to pick one fighter from the entire card who you thought showed the most growth in his game, who would you give it to? Who looked the most improved out of all the fighters who fought tonight?
I would say Paul Daly.
Paul Daly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't like you.
Yeah.
And I just think you're a jackass because of your antics. But dude, your game improved 1,000%. And it's a shame you won't have a job after Strike.
Yeah, because you're not going to have a job.
I mean, the UFC, Bellator, Shark Fights, Denny's.
Yeah.
As one person actually texted me, the Scott Smith fought, what's the guy's name? Because I don't know how to pronounce it. Tarek Safadine. He fought that fight, and he got pretty much, I don't try to pronounce the names anymore because somebody will send some shit in my inbox be like, Negro.
Wait till we get to the cornerback who signed up for the Eagles.
So Safadine, whoever, just outclassed him. But
why did the old Scott Smith show up for the last 45 seconds of the fight?
Yeah.
The reckless abandon, throwing punches from left field. Fucking Jimmy's like, there he goes.
Somebody texted me and said, Scott Smith, hands of stone, speed of a turtle.
Yeah. He's been training with Herschel Walker.
Yeah, it was no head movement, no nothing.
At one point we didn't know, and not taking anything away from Scott Smith because he's nasty and he's great. I mean, we always talk about it. We love it. But lately he's been. Yeah, Jimmy just really emphasized was. But he emphasized that. Yeah, he is. He hasn't shown up the last two fights.
No.
And I think maybe cutting his weight hurt him. I mean, I don't know. Did he look weak in the ring and slow?
Fuck, it didn't help him.
I mean, he's never really looked good from a cardio perspective.
Yeah.
But he just didn't look good at all. His punches looked like they had nothing on him. He looked like he didn't even want to be there.
He did look like he did.
Okay.
That's a good way to look at it. Now, with all that said, we're going to go to the next fight.
Yeah.
Paul Daly versus Tyron. I said Tyron.
I did too. I thought if this went one more round, Paul Daly would have had him.
I think so too. Now, you know what? This is going to get us right back to the fact with MMA judging, and once you take somebody down, you kind of control whatever.
I'm just glad they gave him the decision because I didn't want Tyron's mom to come down there and have to settle things in the ring.
Dude, you could hear her screaming over the thing. But you know
that
what?
would be a scary moment.
Preaching over the thing.
I'm happy for him that it was God's will and it got you through the fight and God stood next to you in that whole entire fight and she was praising Jesus the whole entire fight. And you know what? If she wasn't there giving a sermon on Saturday night in the Sunday morning, you did never won. You did never won.
The best part is I don't even need to go to church in the morning.
Nope.
Huh?
I
just went to church.
You need to go to churches?
No.
Huh?
Well, she may, but
anyway.
Tyron Woodley won it the GSP kind of way. So anyway.
But I will, and like you said, Paul Daly did try to fight him.
Yes.
He really tried to fight him, and he did stuff a lot of the takedowns.
And for you donkeys who think he was really trying to submit him, come on, man.
he was just rolling.
What, the last 20 seconds?
Come on, man.
No,
he got lucky. He fell into this thing. He's omoplata. Dude, he couldn't spell omoplata if you spotted him the vowels.
Omoplata.
Come on.
Yeah, that wasn't happening. Now, Robbie Lawler versus Tim Kennedy. Okay. Now, it looked like it was a good fight. It was, but once again, I will say this.
Well, compared to those, it was a good fight.
Robbie Lawler is crafty and squirrely as shit, and he was snaking his way out of Tim Kenny's clutches for 2 rounds, but it just wasn't enough.
And then the 3rd round, what was Robbie Lawler doing?
I think Robbie Lawler got hit with a leg. Yeah,
but that was late. That was late.
The first 3 minutes. What was he doing?
I would love to know what Robbie Lawler's corner said to him, because if they thought you were winning that fight, I didn't have you winning it.
No, you were down 2 rounds.
Yeah. So and he came out very.
He was hesitant. He didn't have any sense of urgency, and it hurt him.
And I'm gonna tell you what, that front kick to right above between his belly button and top of his crouch.
It was a wrap after that.
Yeah.
Dude, he was.
You saw it on his face. He kind of scoured, and all of a sudden, Tim Kennedy just completely took over.
And he saw it, and he pounced on him. Now, I like what Tim Kennedy did for that poor, after the thing when he brought him in.
I'm thank God that James just beat that. So go ahead.
Anyway, no, it was cool. It was cool what he did with that guy, because it sucks. Mm-hmm. That really sucks. And I'm glad that guy is doing the right thing and trying to raise money for troops that have gone through.
And that's why he'll have a job in the UFC. He's a very marketable guy, and
he's a likable guy.
Yeah, he's a pretty good fighter. I think he'll hold up fine in the UFC.
Oh, he's a damn good fighter. He really is. George, don't start for me, man. Don't start for me. Look, but what he did in the ring was definitely was really good. Because those guys do go out and risk everything.
Now, here's what I want to know. What did you guys think of the ladies' fight?
I'm not going to lie to you guys, because that's one thing we don't do here at the Uncut Sports Show.
I fell asleep.
We were all snoring.
The only one who saw the fight was his lady.
Yeah, she told us what happened, because we were literally all out cold. We were snoring.
Yeah.
And you know what? I usually like the women fights. I tell you that. I always fight. Say, they should let it go on. MMA should expand. You win. You win, motherfucker. Because I'm not even going to argue with you.
I think part of it is
George wins, nigga. Shut up.
We're used to seeing.
Jimmy, look, we can't even. Jimmy, tonight, I can't even back you up on this one, man.
Well, the thing is, all I was going to say is
that. No, you weren't. You're not. We're going on to
everybody tuned in for.
Yeah, it was the Fedor Hendo fight. And everyone who hates Jimmy just loved that, because we both just fucking threw the brakes on whatever he was going to say. Because let's face it, that shit is dead as Elvis.
If it was.
No,
I mean a guy, two men fighting like that would have put you to sleep. But the fact that MMA right now, that Zuffa has control of Strikeforce, and they saw a fight like that, it hurt him. I think it did hurt him. I mean, and I want to see women's MMA succeed. I do. I want to see it succeed. But
it's not that I don't want to see it succeed. And here's the other thing: y'all got to remember, we're on the East Coast. We get up early, even on Saturdays, because we have shit to do. And rolling into at 11:30 with those two ladies rubbing titties and falling, whatever happened, I woke up in time to roll over and see Gus Johnson say something about
curious, Jimmy. I
know.
Let him talk. Let him see what he's gonna say.
God, no, fuck no. It's not happening. Damn it! It's my show tonight. Fuck off. Next fight.
The next fight.
H-bomb has landed.
For you guys that are just starting to follow us, or for you guys that don't know, Jimmy,
they're still clearing that mushroom cloud out.
And he likes Japanese women.
Jimmy loves Dan Henderson. I'm telling you, he is the biggest Dan Henderson fan, and he called this shit.
Yes, he did.
He called it.
He's
him
actually
and Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen, you guys might want to go over and start watching his video, because Chael Sonnen is slowly turning into Nostradamus.
If you're fighting with a guy with an earpiece in, you got to question it.
This guy, look, I'm going to tell you what, people can love that guy or hate that guy or whatever and stuff like this. A lot of stuff he's starting to say is making a lot of sense. That's all I'm saying. And that doesn't mean that I agree with everything he says.
Now, for all of the Fedor fans who are tuning in to see the fight, or for all you people who are tuning in to see the fight, you're not going to see the fight. And you can come here and you can tell us how bad Herb Dean is a ref and it's all Herb Dean's fault. But you know what? Fedor and Tyron Woodley's mom just got together, and they both have a strong belief in God, and they're going to go talk to God tonight. And Fedor will then decide his career at churches. No,
but,
the churches.
One's Church's Fried Chicken, one is the church.
Well, Fedor might end up there drinking vodka and eating fried chicken.
Now, I'm going to break it down for you guys. The fight was awesome.
Yeah, it was a barn burner
fight from the get-go.
Fedor came out swinging for the fences. Dan Henderson came out swinging for the fences. They both were connecting. At the end of the end result was Fedor lost.
Yes.
It really doesn't matter if he face planted and people say no, he didn't face plant too long, or if Herb Dean. interrupted too long. The bottom line is this: Dan Henderson is a great. He's going to be in the MMA Hall of Fame. Fedor's going to be in the MMA Hall of Fame. But when you look at two guys that are that level, right? One of the guys is giving up 15 pounds, and he's given up 6 years in age. Okay, and they're both legends. And Fedor takes a loss to him. And believe me, I wanted to see Dan Henderson win this fight because I'm a big Dan Henderson fan. It's time for Fedor to retire. I think. I don't think. What else can he prove, or what does he have to prove?
If he's not gonna cut weight and try to reinvent himself at 205, or even dude, he'd be great.
George, he just lost to a middleweight,
but he lost to a middleweight who is not a middleweight. He's a big ass middleweight who didn't have to. All he had to do was eat. He didn't have to do any cardio for this fight.
He lost to a middleweight that has lost to Anderson Silva and Jake Shields.
Yeah, so he lost to a great fighter.
Right.
He didn't lose to Jimmy's mom. She fights middle. Anyway, what I'm getting at is the only way Fedor should continue to fight, in my humble opinion.
Even Jimmy's laughing at his own mom jokes now. This is how pathetic the show's come. Jimmy's like, they're talking about my mom again. I think I'll laugh.
Anyway,
I'll laugh.
What I'm getting at is if Fedor wants to continue to fight, it cannot be at heavyweight. There's not, in my opinion, there's not too many heavyweights out there with name rec that he can beat. No one in the UFC.
And I agree. It's also the weight, but he's also got to step down in competition. I mean, he's got to fight guys that aren't at the top of the game because he's just not going to beat them.
What does he have? This is the thing.
He has nothing left to prove.
Right. That's just it.
Right.
Like, I think Fedor is going to be a legend.
He is a legend.
I think to the people in Russia who love him, I see why they do. He's a great hero,
and let me tell
hero.
You, no matter what Chael Sonnen has to say about the earpiece or not, that guy,
we're exaggerating now.
That guy fought freak shows. That guy fought. I mean, he
fucked them up.
Yeah, and he usually was the smaller guy in every fight. But now the game is evolving. Look at Chuck Liddell. Look at as Tito Ortiz.
And for all you people out there that say we're talking shit, it's not talking shit. No, it's just analyzing what's going on in MMA with the guys, with the fighters. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're talking about.
They're sensitive because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear that Fedor might possibly never fight again.
Yeah.
But you guys also have to be able to step back and realize, why does he need to continue to fight? Why does he need to continue to get hit?
Yeah, what does he have to prove? Nothing anymore. I mean, I think at this point in time, you become how Ali was when he fought Larry Holmes and stuff like this. You're on the tail end of your career. Yeah, he's 34 years old, but he's an old 34 years old because he was fighting in Pride when he was early 20s.
4 or 5 times a night.
I mean, at this point in time, he should just put the MMA gloves up.
What does this do for Dan Henderson? Obviously, this kicks down the door for Dana to go, we have a Fedor beater. Told you all my UFC guys are great and Fedor this. Because Dana White does not like fucking Fedor. Dana White doesn't like fucking anybody.
I'm going to tell you what
I just want to say, I think Dana White, it's not that Fedor the person he doesn't like. He doesn't like dealing with Fedor's handlers. And I think that was truly the problem. I think if it was just Fedor representing himself or the other fighters, I think he would have been in the UFC long ago. It's these handlers that he has that seem to cause these issues for him.
Right.
And now they're going to go out trying to seek these paydays. They're not there anymore. So if Fedor wants to fight, he's going to be fighting for a lot smaller purses.
Yeah.
I'd watch him fight a bear.
So would I.
Anyway, where does this do for Dan Henderson?
I think Dan Henderson, I honestly, and I'm going to ask you guys a question, okay? You guys name me 4 205 light heavies in the UFC that can beat Dan Henderson.
I don't know. That's not even what I'm getting at.
Just answer the question.
I don't have them. But here's
why can't you answer my question then?
Because it's irrelevant. It's stupid. He doesn't.
Jimmy, you answer my question.
No, he doesn't even want to fight at 205 anymore.
But
he fights at 185.
Just say this.
There aren't any. There's your answer. There's one. John Jones.
Yeah.
John Jones would fuck him up all day long.
Fight.
Right.
I think that'd be a good fight.
If he got John Jones to the ground,
I really do.
It could be a decent fight. Who knows? I'm telling you, man.
I hope James just bleeped all that horse shit that came out of y'all's mouths.
Why?
Because you're both high as fuck. How on God's green earth is Dan
Henderson smoking no weed?
Then you've been snorting something.
I'm just saying.
No. How in the fuck is Dan Henderson going to get John Jones on the ground? And then what's he going to do with him there? What's he going to do?
If he does get him on the ground.
And then what's he going to do?
What do you mean, what's he going to do?
What the fuck's he going to do?
He's a strong guy. He's a big guy. He can ground and pound.
Who says that he can't get inside and land
John Jones, it's just, look, believe me, I've been the one that's been hyping up John Jones, and I think everything, but you can't take away the fact that Dan Henderson is a very strong guy. He is an incredible wrestler,
and he could fight at 185.
Shut the fuck up. And if he
wants
could
to fight at 185.
Who really?
Yes, you bring him back to fight Anderson Silva. That's what you do. You don't bring him in to fight
Anderson Silva.
But that's why you bring him back to fight Anderson Silva. That's the fight that's left.
Right.
There's no point to bring him in at 205. Let him cut the 185. He immediately walks in and fights the winner of Okami and Anderson Silva.
Do you think more people would pay to see Dan Henderson fight Silva again, or for him to fight John Jones?
People want to watch John Jones fight Rashad Evans. That's who they want to see John Jones fight.
If that happens. But I'm asking you, see, the problem is you're not answering my question.
Because your question is not relevant to Dan Henderson.
You see this motherfucker? Answer the question, George.
Neither. I don't want to watch him fight either one.
You wouldn't?
No.
You don't want to see him fight Anderson Silva, you wouldn't want to see him fight John Jones?
I don't want to see him fight at 205.
My question is, what do you think people would rather see him fight?
Anderson Silva.
You think more people would rather see
because
Anderson Silva again?
People hate Anderson Silva. They want to see Anderson Silva lose. Who's got the best shot at beating Anderson Silva? At 185. Who's got the best shot?
For years it's been Dan Henderson.
Dan Henderson had him beat the entire first round.
Been given an immediate rematch after that match.
Who do you think put up a better fight against Silva? Dan Henderson or Chael Sonnen?
But Dan Henderson, Chael Sonnen put up... No.
Chael
Sonnen put up a better fight, but Chael Sonnen couldn't finish a fucking Big Mac.
Yeah,
but neither could Dan Henderson that night.
He got beat.
He took him farther into the fight.
Okay, then fine. Let's watch Chael Sonnen hump him again.
Well, I'm just saying. But from what you're saying, you know what I'm saying? You guys are coming at me with something. I'm saying, based on what you're saying, Chael Sonnen did the exact same thing Dan Henderson did. But no one is yet to see John Jones get tested against a wrestler like Dan Henderson. I'm just saying that might be something that people might say, Now, honestly, at the end of the day, who do I think won? I think John Jones will win the fight. But I'm thinking if you put both of those fights out there, I think a lot of people might want to see that fight.
Okay. Who would you rather see?
Okay.
John Jones versus Dan Henderson, or
a rematch of Dan Henderson versus Anderson Silva?
We'll find out.
Okay.
Yeah, or if it's somebody else, tell us. Who do you want to see Dan Henderson fight in the UFC?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good question. Who would you guys want to see Dan Henderson fight in the UFC?
I think he's more dangerous at 185 than he is at 205. And I think you're going to have better paydays for him. I mean, let's face it. Here's another serious question.
I just think the crop of people he could fight in.
I think the crop of 205 is more marketable.
I do too. That's what I'm trying to say.
How many fights left does this man have?
But it's just like what Jimmy said, and Jimmy's hearing what I'm trying to say. I think that Henderson fights at 85 and 205. Okay, he fights at both of them. Okay, but. And sitting at the top of both of those classes are people that doesn't look like they're good matchups for. Two similar fighters, Silva and Jones. You know what I mean? One he has not fought, so I thought that would be that's why I'm thinking it's a more marketable fight. And I think the fighters, like Jimmy just said, at 205 would probably be.
They have more name recognition. To me, there's two fighters that people know at the 185s. That's Anderson Silva and Chael Sonnen. And mainly it's Chael Sonnen because he runs his mouth.
Right.
At 205, people can usually name off a slew.
Yeah, he can fight Machida. He can fight
Rashad Evans.
All right. So how about this?
Okay.
Evans has his next fight. Who's Evans fighting? Tito Ortiz.
Tito Ortiz.
Yeah, he can fight.
Fuck that. No. Here's how George thinks it's going down, because I still think it's my show.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So Rashad Evans has to beat Tito Ortiz.
Yes,
okay. Yeah. So that's step number one. If he beats Tito Ortiz, what month are we in?
He's fighting.
What month?
July.
July. Yeah. Let's say we're at August 1st.
Monday will be in August.
Okay. So we're at August 1st.
Okay.
Let's say November.
Okay.
Dan Henderson versus Rashad Evans. The winner fights John Jones. Why not?
They could, but
okay. Now, what you just said is what we've been trying to say the whole time.
No, I'm finally giving in. That's why obviously.
Oh my God damn!
I mean, if you guys want to see him fight at 205, because here's my thing.
I think it would be good.
The man has sat there time and time again and said in Strikeforce, I don't want to fight at 205. He wants to fight at 185.
Yeah.
But if they go,
I think it's more marketable.
There's $250,000 to fight at 205. Dan Henderson will be like, give me a Big Mac.
I think at this point in time, he left the UFC. And if I was Dana White, and Dana White has a lot of ways of manipulating things and making things happen, like finally we're seeing Anderson Silva fighting
Yushin Okami in Brazil.
I think that I would have to think that he will want Henderson to come back in the UFC and fight at 205 because it's just so much more big money fights, I think. I mean, honestly, I like to see Henderson fight at 85. I like to see him win the 85 title. I like Dan Henderson and everything like this. But if I was trying to put money in my pockets and I own the UFC, I'd be like fighting 205.
So who would you have him fight? If Dan Henderson?
Well, I thought what you just said, the scenario what you just said was great.
It's just that I think though Rashad, since he's been, if he does win, he's been guaranteed basically a title. The next fight being John Jones.
We all know how that works because John Jones could easily go, oh shit, I'm hurt again.
Well, yeah, I guess.
And here's the other thing: I think everyone's overlooking.
So okay, let me ask
Rampage.
you this: why do you think John Jones says, "Oh, I'm hurt again"?
Because it might be a head thing. Like you said, it's all about matchups. Look, if me and you are training partners, and I know all day long that you just, for some reason, I can beat everyone else's ass. But for some reason, when you and I, it doesn't work. It's not a good matchup. And Rashad might be banging his mom. Rashad might have some dirt on him. Who knows?
Right.
Rashad obviously knows.
Yeah.
It's like when you play against somebody all the time, it's like sometimes your hardest matchups is when you're playing an inter-squad scrimmage or something with your own team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And they trained forever together out there with Greg Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely know each other's weaknesses
and
stuff like this. And he's probably got a little bit of age, and obviously he was the better athlete before John Jones developed into the athlete he is now.
And there's two things that have to happen. Rashad Evans has to win, and John Jones has to win. Because let me tell you, Rampage could, in my opinion, knock anyone out.
You can never count a guy out who has power like that. Like one shot.
Yeah. But I think we're going to see where John Jones is at. Now we've gotten way far off where we were at.
Who do you think has better power in the hand, Rampage or Dan Henderson?
Oh, Dan Henderson. And well, put it this way. Honestly, no, let me reset. We don't know who has better power. Whose lands more frequently is Dan Henderson, and that's what matters.
Dan Henderson should seriously patent the windshield wiper technique. Because that's what he does. He even did it tonight. He was just looking to brush, do this.
He's clearing the smoke for the H-bomb.
Yeah.
He did throw the H-bomb today. He threw an undercut H-bomb. And
even a Superman punch.
Let's ask another question. Who thinks that the fight, honestly, after watching the fight tonight, the Fedor Hendo fight, who thinks that the fight was stopped too early? Okay, we want everybody to let us know.
And tell us, is this Fedor's last fight?
And it's this Fedor's. We're telling these people. Okay, go ahead.
I thought it was stopped too early, and the reason I say that is because we've seen Brock Lesnar lay on his back and get punched in the face close with both arms pinned underneath him and punch for close to 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. I understand Herb Dean, the guy's a legend. Mm-hmm. Fuck it, let him get hit 3 or 4 more times. What's the worst that's going to happen?
I think the thing that kind of threw... I agree with you. I do. I think... But this is the thing that threw everybody off. And what I think that when Fedor got hit and he went limp and that arm went underneath him and there was no movement, I think that... And then...
Herb didn't make it there quick enough.
Right. I think that he hit him a couple times and there was no movement. And so Herb Dean goes, okay, I better stop. He's out cold. But
that's what Jimmy's mom's does. She tries to get cute. She posts up real tough and then she tries to go limp.
Jimmy is laughing.
And tries to act like...
He's
she goes limp like that and tries to get me to stop.
How have you got this? How has this happened?